As much as I hated dieting, pretty much refused, I did have periods of time where I tried to be healthy in my eating. Back then, healthy in my eating meant I stopped junk food. So I was still allowing myself to have granola bars, I was still allowing myself to have rice, pasta, potatoes for supper. I was forcing myself to eat vegetables, vegetables and fruit, mostly fruit. I hated fruit. So I forced myself to eat fruit. And I was having oatmeal quite regularly for breakfast. It was rare that I calorie counted. Like that wasn't something that I was into because of course I don't like the idea of dieting. I really thought I could just do things properly, eat healthy, and by eating healthy, I would be able then to manage my weight, kind of get back on track and life would be good. But then if I didn't, so when I didn't actually do the things, like I didn't calorie count and I didn't follow all the strict rules, I didn't work out every day like a crazy, when I didn't do that stuff, then obviously I felt like I couldn't complain when I didn't lose weight. And spoiler, I didn't lose the weight, right? Or I would lose some and then it would come back with more and then I would lose some yo-yo stuff. But the question I have for you is what happens when you're actually calorie counting? So when you're doing all the things, calorie counting, you're working out, you're eating properly, what happens? And the funny thing is, well, it's not funny, it's actually quite stressful, is that your diet tends to look like this. So eating healthy fruit and you're eating healthy snacks and you're having that oatmeal for breakfast and your suppers are reasonable. And is anybody seeing a similarity between what I said I was doing and this? I wasn't calorie counting, but the plates don't look that different. What we're going to look at today is the dangers of asking my body to use less energy than it actually needs, because that is a bit dangerous. My body is trying to process food. That takes a lot of energy. My body is trying to build and repair. That takes a lot of energy. When we try to do both of these things at the same time, build and repair, process food at the same time, my body can't manage that. It only has so much energy to use in its totality. Then what happens? It prioritizes processing food. On these very healthy, low calorie diets that we tend to do, low fat, because you're not eating enough at your meals, you end up being hungry during the day. And then you're encouraged to have healthy snacks. And these are examples, again, of what I was absolutely understanding back then as healthy snacks. When I looked it up today, I'm still seeing them recommending these things as healthy snacks. There's some things on there that I might have eaten even today. There's other things on there that I know better now. But the point is, all of those snacks, well, most of them, let's say the nuts are not, but the rest of these snacks are very carb-heavy snacks. Maybe the yogurt isn't, depending on what kind of yogurt it is. But usually we're being encouraged to eat carb-heavy snacks because carb-heavy snacks usually are calorie light. So I can obviously eat more calories from carbohydrates before I get to a high calorie number than if I try to eat calories from fats. Then the numbers add up faster than 9 versus 4. So that becomes really problematic, right? So we end up in this situation where we're eating high carb snacks between our meals. But now that brings another problem, which is that, well, my body is going to see those high carb snacks and going to do what it's supposed to do, put them away as fat because it needs to protect me from the excessive amount of sugar that I'm eating. So now the snacks that I'm eating to sustain me between the meal that didn't have enough energy in it because it was low fat is also causing me to fat. It's not just weight, it's fat. My body's taking that sugar, storing it as fat. Now my body is tired. So I'm constantly in a state of being monitored, right? My body is checking how much energy came in, how much energy do we have to spend on cleanup, how much energy do we need to use to process the food that she's eating. My body's constantly looking at what I'm doing so that it can make the best possible decision. What's interesting is that you will see a lot of people who eat breakfast, lunch, supper, and still in the middle of their day, they're exhausted. They'll have snacks and still be exhausted. And the question is, if you're eating all this healthy energy, why are you exhausted all the time? Right? And then you turn around and you have a snack and you're happy to eat it because it tastes fun and delicious. But is it really giving you what you need? Right? Your body is constantly pushing you to eat because it needs energy and nutrients. So now we have to pause here. If I've got 20, 30, 70 pounds to lose, like what I had, do I really need energy? In fact, most of us, our body is pushing us to eat because of two real things that are happening. Number one, the dopamine hit that we get from eating sugar causes us to chase, and my body will, so my brain now is pushing me to get more sugar because it wants that dopamine hit. So that's not about hunger, that's about healing. The other reason is that we either need energy or building blocks. So, again, like I just said, I had 70 pounds to lose. I didn't need energy, but I did need appropriate building blocks. I was not eating appropriate food. Cookies is not going to build me properly. Chocolate bars is not going to. Now, yeah, I had supper, I had lunch, but in between, I had all this garbage food. And so that combination of my body needing to swiftly put this high carb mess that I'm eating away, but then also looking for building blocks to build me, creates the story where I'm always searching for food. Now, if you would like be healthy, like when we do healthy eating, you don't snack as much. And I know it's hard for people to believe that when you eat healthy, snacks fall away. I can tell you that, like, I'm trying to think here, like, when was the last time I had a snack? Now, I do drink coffee, so I guess I'll consider that a snack. We're going to get to that in a minute. But I feel like people have a hard time believing that when you eat healthy, there's no snacking based on, oh, I'm so hungry and I can't make it to the next meal. I'm going to have a snack. That's not the reason for snacking. And if you look at the snacks that I have on the screen right now, I have the apple. That apple is going to give you 95 calories and 19.3 grams of carb in that 162 gram apple. So that's a medium 3-inch apple. And this is something that people who are dieting would have no problem to eat. Whereas I look at that and what I see is that's 19.3. That's all the sugar that I can have in my entire day in one midday snack. Now, if you compare that to the cheese, it's a 100-gram piece of cheese that's giving me Swiss cheese, by the way. That's giving me 393 calories, but 1.4 grams of carbs. Now, the reason that most people who are dieting is going to give you for choosing the apple, the cheese, is because, well, it's less calories. Obviously, I would go. What I want you to think about is that that's a bad reason. Choose the apple. That apple is going to get into you, and then your body is going to put it away as fat because 19.3 grams of carbs cannot just be there, right? It needs to be stored up to keep you safe, keep your body safe. Whereas that cheese with 1.4 grams of carb, your body's not rushing to put that away as fat. Now, the other terrific thing about the cheese that we honestly don't think about is that most of the energy coming from that cheese coming from fat. So what we know about fat is that it's very satiating, and it's animal fat. What we know about animal fat is that my body can use it to build me. So in fact, that cheese is not only giving me protein that's going to be able to build me, but fat that's going to be able to build me, and fat that's able to power me, so energize me through the day, and only 1.4 grams of carbohydrate. That's scary for me, right? I'm not getting 19.3, I'm getting 1.4 that my body has to manage, right? And my body's still going to manage that sugar. You don't get a pass from your body managing the sugar, no matter where it comes from. What I'm talking about is the amount. All right. Now, let's look at the granola bar, because the granola bar is going to give us a nice 135 calories, so a bit more than the apple, but still something that I see a lot of people who diet have no problem to eat. It's going to give us 15.3 grams of carbohydrate versus I could have 2 eggs, which have 155 calories. So the calorie count's not that far apart. 135 versus 155 is 20 grams of 20 calories difference. But the egg is only giving me 1.1 grams of carb. In the standard American diet world, they're going to say that, but there's cholesterol in those eggs, and that our body makes cholesterol if we don't eat it. That's how important cholesterol is. So not eating cholesterol doesn't stop you from having it. What's important for us to realize here is, again, most of the energy in this egg is coming from fat, and the energy, so the oil, I should say the fat and the protein in the egg animal, is going to be able to build better quality me. By focusing on healthy foods in general, just healthy foods, if I only choose to eat things that build me well and give me cleaner energy, because fat in the body is a cleaner energy, carbohydrate in the body. Not that we don't need carbohydrate. I make sure I say this every video because I don't want anyone to accuse me of saying that we don't need it. Body makes it. We cannot make the fats that we need. We have to eat them. Some essential fatty acids that we just can't make. We cannot make the protein that we need. We have to make them. But we actually have the ability to make all the carbohydrates that we need. And, I wonder why that is. Could it be because carbohydrates are that toxic in large doses that we've created a system to make what is necessary so that we can't overdo it? Right? If I'm only getting what my body makes, I would not be able to overdo it. So that's something to think about, because I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Like, why did the body choose make carbohydrates? And I mean, we're talking adaptive things that happened years and years ago that I have no idea about. But the fact that we can make them and make all that we need, I think is an important piece of the puzzle that every one of us, wellness warrior, needs to look at that. Do I truly need today to be eating sugar? So eventually we're able to walk away from eating unhealthy things. And I feel like that's amazing. That should make you feel so relaxed and relieved to know that if I allow myself to eat healthy, at some point, I'm actually going to be able to walk away from eating unhealthy things. My body will no longer be damaged by food I'm eating. Still got to deal with pollution and falling off my chair, but I won't have to deal with eating unhealthy things. That should make you extremely happy. I'm showing you right now some food, so some meals that I have. And meal top, obviously you can tell there's no veg. I have 2 pieces of pork, I believe, uh, cheese in between, and egg on top. That was my meal. And that was my one meal a day meal. I also have a nice salad I'm showing you there. What's missing from the salad, and I only noticed it after I reviewed the picture afterwards, is I hadn't put the feta on the salad yet. So there's 2 ounces of feta missing from that salad. Again, like that bowl is like it's not a salad bowl. It's a bowl. Like I have a glass beside it because I want you to have some context of how big that bowl is. That's a big bowl of salad. Why am I showing you this? Because although I have 2 coffees a day, that's where most of my energy and building blocks come from. Meals like this. I vary the veg, so sometimes I'll have olives, sometimes I'll have avocado. If Pat's cooking, I might have cauliflower or broccoli. And then I have a lot of days where I have just meat, and maybe I won't even have the cheese or the egg. I'll just have meat. I'll have days where I just have eggs. I have days where I don't have the coffees. I have days where I don't eat at all. The question that I want you to think about is, how am I able to do this and kind of do it so easily? Because I've allowed myself to stop eating the carbohydrates that were causing me to chase a dopamine hit and a serotonin rush and all these endorphins in my head. I stopped eating that because it wasn't helping me to accomplish the goal that I had for myself. Right? And I want you to understand why I drink the coffees, because there's more to the story. I drink the coffees because I still get signals from the environment to eat, and I know that. Lunchtime will roll around and I'll feel it, like that I want to eat something. And I know that I'm not hungry, but I'm getting the signal from the environment that, oh, look, it's noon. It's time to eat. And that's not reality. I don't have to eat just because it's noon. I'll get a signal because maybe I saw somebody on a commercial eating something and it's like, oh, it's time to eat. We still get signals even if we are not eating carby food anymore. My brain still remembers what it was like to eat those fun foods. And when I see that stuff, it still triggers me a little bit. And I know that. So I drink coffees. And sometimes I'll have 2 in a day. Sometimes I'll have 1. Like I said, sometimes I have none. Now, if I was actually hungry, the coffee wouldn't satisfy me. And this is precisely how I know when I'm fasting that my fast is over. Because when I'm fasting and I drink my coffee on day 4 or 5, whichever day I make it to, and like I drink my coffee on day 4 and like 20 minutes later I'm hungry, it's because it's time for my body is actually asking for food. Now, what's interesting about when my body asks for food? I don't argue with it. If my body is really wanting food, if I drink coffee and then realize, oh, it doesn't matter what time of the day it is, I'm going to eat a meal. I'm not going to eat a snack. Eating a snack keeps me in this mindset that they've tried to keep us in, where food is for fun, food is for entertainment. You can have this snack and buy this and buy that. And next thing you know, I'm eating things that isn't giving me the totality of what my body asks for. If I drink a coffee and my body is saying, no, it's time to eat. It's not saying it's time to eat, not time to eat cheese at that moment, right? It's time to eat a meal. And I want you to think about that, because Wellness Warrior, every time I let myself have a snack, I open that door for Keto XYZ snack to step in. Keto company to provide me with a new kind of chip or a new type. Is that really what going to help me to build a quality me? Most of these things are processed. And if we the one thing that I did learn, I go back in the Wayback Machine, when I was trying to lose weight and I didn't understand any of this, cutting out the junk food, so the processed garbage, actually helped. When I stopped eating cookies and ice cream and chips and all that stupidity, I actually did lose weight. It's important for us to understand that, because if I don't understand that, then I'm still leaving space for these companies to come in and sell me something. My body knows when it doesn't have the resources to continue to build me. It will ask me to go get food. And then I do. I get a meal. And I need to understand I'm getting the meal because my body needs protein. I still have, after 4 days of fasting, 5 days of, I still have fat on me. So it's not asking me for energy. I still have energy. The building blocks got depleted. And that's fine. Then I will eat and give it more, and then I'll fast again at another point in time. But this is one of the reasons that I want us all to think about why pushing my body to do a calorie restriction diet is so harmful. Because a calorie restriction diet is looking at calorie count and ignoring where those calories are coming from. And because they're ignoring where those calories are coming from, they're ignoring how my body interacts with food. And because they're interacting how my body interacts with food, they're encouraging me to eat snacks to make it from one meal. When I started doing keto, I made it from one meal to the next. Like within the first 2 weeks of doing keto, I was making it from meal 1 to meal 2 to meal 3. It was easy. Because why? Because the meal I was eating had healthy fat in it, whether it was breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And then eventually, I was eating just lunch and dinner because I was not that hungry anymore, because my body had learned to take energy from me. So we keep our body facing sugar. So then it needs the energy come from sugar, because if we're burning sugar as an energy source, we're not tapping into the fat because we're storing, right? And then we're on that roller coaster where we're constantly actually chasing energy. You're actually chasing energy because you're not allowing your body to use the fat it has on board. And this is the diet that we're trying to do to lose weight. Your body can only keep you healthy if you give it the building blocks that it needs to build itself properly. That means that it's going to make sure that you have enough muscle on board, and it's going to make sure that your cells are built with quality fats, which means you have to eat the right fats, which means you have to eat animal fats. It's important for us to understand that piece of information. It's frustrating to me that there's a lot of women that I will talk to that will talk about exercise as if it's not important. They'll talk about exercise as if it's that thing that men do to get muscles, and they don't want muscles, and therefore, and it's so important for us to understand that we all need muscles. First of all need muscles, but that if you don't have a good amount of, if a woman doesn't have a good amount of muscle on her, she's actually shortening her lifespan. Women with muscle, more muscle mass, live longer. And that's important for us to understand, because your body wants to survive. Your body wants to be strong. Your body wants to repair itself. It wants to do all the good things. And you should not only want to survive, you should want to thrive. You should want to give your body the building blocks that creates the healthiest version of you possible, so that we increase your longevity, versus eating garbage because it tastes fun and I'm shortening my life. Wellness warriors, please don't do that. Don't eat garbage because it tastes fun and then shorten your life. Doesn't make sense. It's not good for you. It's not good for your family, for your children, for your friends, for all the people that love you, that want you to be around for the longest possible time in a healthy way so they can have fun with you. It's not good for the work you're doing that might be contributing to a better planet. It's not good for the fun you give to your friends when you're hanging out. We contribute so much to the world, and yet we feed ourselves like if we don't matter. I want you to start feeding yourself like You're the most important person on the planet because you are. If you are not the most important person on the planet to you, we're not thinking about this right. Eat healthy, proteins, healthy fats, build up an impressive body that's strong and going to take you far into the future. Prioritize health over the taste of food. Let's take a look at our comment of the day, which is coming from Vita. So thanks for the info. Wish I could figure out all the different ideas if eating animal products is bad or not. Each group has a lot of evidence. What I'm going to say is that when we look at the evidence of what builds a healthy human cell, what we find out is that human cells need animal lipids to be created, which means we need to eat fat from animals. Now, there's lots of different ways to do it, but it's really not possible to do it without taking it from an animal. So whether you end up eating fish mostly, or eating eggs mostly, or if you eat just standard meats in general, there is a need to eat animal products in order to get the healthy lipids that we need, and the protein as well, because I can't remember which one. I always forget which protein, but there's one or two proteins that is really, really difficult to get from vegetation. And the problem that I see there is that if I need to eat large amounts of vegetation to get these two amino acids that I would be missing, then all of a sudden I'm eating more carbohydrate than my body can manage. So in order to get this amino acid, I'm now flooding my body with sugar. Again, it doesn't make a lot of sense if we're talking about building a healthy me. So for me, with everything that I've personally lived, then with the logic that I'm looking at from what we understand from people who have been educating us about eating healthy, low carb lifestyles, so keto, carnivore. And you've got Dr. Baker, you've got Dr. Barry, you've got Dr. Berg, you've got Dr. Westman, you've got, there's so many, like Dr. Eckberg. I could just keep going on and on, that keep explaining to us the importance of eating a healthy protein source and a healthy fat source for humans. I hope that helps you, Beta. And go watch their channels. I'm sure you're going to find the information that you need. I also have videos that talk about some research I got from them, if you want to look in my channel as well. And the other person, because there was two comments I wanted to highlight today, was Mandel Harvey. He said, do I have any thoughts on folks who eat candy for constant, quick energy, but they remain thin? And I do have thoughts on that. One of the things that I realize about myself, and then like looking at the people that I know who struggled with inflammation, is that yes, in the beginning, I was able to continue to eat garbage, and still I was at a regular weight. The majority of my weight gain came on after I had my daughter. You're talking, I was in my 30s, going into my 40s at that point in time, when it actually started to accumulate. And the question is, so how was I able to stay thin before that when I was eating garbage? And it's because your body doesn't have only one avenue of where it can store. So of course I was storing fat, obviously, but I was still within the range that's considered normal. Let's not forget, you've got 30 pounds of range to work with, right? On when you're looking at your charts for height and weight, you got 30 pounds to deal with. So theoretically, if I'm on the higher end of that scale, I still look fine, but I'm on the higher end of the scale, right? So that's one part of the story. But the other part of the story is, then what was my body doing with the sugar? The sugar was causing inflammation in my joints. From the age of 20-ish, like just after 20, I was living daily pain in my knees. And then it eventually was in my elbows, it was in my back, it was in my neck. So I just didn't realize that that's what was happening. Doesn't mean that it was wasn't a big deal. Doesn't mean that it wasn't a problem. No, it was a huge problem. I just didn't know it was a problem. So some people get PCOS. Some people go get diabetes before they even gain any weight because some people don't have as much capacity to store fat, which is another part of the story, right? That there are some cultures even that have a lower capacity to store fat and they become diabetic much quicker. So being thin isn't the marker of health, and that's why I wanted to put this comment up. I want us to understand that being thin is not the be all end all that we're aiming at. But if I'm healthy, my body will regulate my weight. So a healthy person is much more likely to be thin, but we need to keep in mind that an overweight person is not necessarily sick yet. So that's the other part of the story. When my body is taking that sugar and storing it away as fat, it's doing that. Why? To keep me healthy. In that moment, I don't have a heart issue. I don't have a metabolic issue outside of the weight, but I don't have another metabolic issue. So my body is actually trying to protect me by putting the sugar in fat storage. Again, if I end up with too much of it, it becomes a problem. Wellness Warrior, I love making these videos for you, and I'm so happy that you guys come back. And if you're new, I want you to subscribe and ring that bell so that you don't miss a video. I'm live every Monday at 11:15 a.m. Eastern Time, making these videos for you guys, and I cannot wait to talk to you this week.